What's up? It's Mike Mal, and you are listening to the Athletor Podcast, where we dive into the processes, mindsets, strategies of some of the most successful athletes and coaches from all walks of life. Athletor Podcast coming at you. Kellen Russell, associate head coach at Cornell University, talks about a little bit of the differences between coming from a Power 5 school into the Ivy League. We talk a ton about NIL and how they've been able to be successful without putting out the numbers that your Power 5 schools are putting out. And I'm telling you right now, you are going to be very surprised at who makes his Mount Rushmore of wrestling. All that and more. Athletor Podcast. Don't go nowhere. Hey, everyone knows that wrestling is 90% mental. We're super excited to have partnered with Wrestling Mindset, the #1 wrestling-specific mindset program in the world. Make sure to sign up at wrestlingmindset.com using promo code Athletor25 for a $500 discount. Stop underperforming and losing to guys that you should beat. Athletor Podcast, Kellen Russell. I've been trying to get you on this thing for, I don't know, better part of a year. Thank you very much for sitting down with me, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we had a few dates lined up and stuff kept popping up, so I'm glad to be on it finally.
Okay. Here's the deal. I went back, and we're going to start with you. I want to talk about coaching, and I want to talk about the status of the NCAA and where things are and how that affects Cornell. But you know, when my son first started getting into folk style wrestling, I made it abundantly clear to him that mat returns save lives and save matches. And the best example that I could give him was Kellen Russell, his junior and senior year, winning 2 national titles. And I'm not saying you didn't have leg attacks. I'm saying that every single one of your takedowns was set up by monster mat returns. And people don't realize how much that can soften you up, right? You drop Montel Marion on his head. So the fact that wasn't called, it was trapped arm. It was nasty.
Yeah, I got a little lucky there.
I would agree with you. I can't believe it wasn't called. I mean, nowadays I think it would be called. But talk a little bit about how Matt and people, maybe the layman coach doesn't understand how much importance you should put on mat returns if you want to soften up your opponent later in a match.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was even in high school, Buxton was big on mat returns, just mat wrestling in general. Being able to ride tough, obviously work for your turns, but the mat returns, just even if, we always said, even if you're going to cut a guy, let him stand up, mat return him once and then cut him. Make it really tough for him. And
yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah. You think you're getting out, the guy just kind of lets you stand up and then you slam on the mat. Now you're hard cutting with your hands on his head. It's just one more thing that guy's got to think about for the rest of the match. So yeah, it was definitely something that I want to spend a lot of time on. I think especially when I first got to college, I wasn't the best on my feet. Like I was hard to take down, but I didn't necessarily have a lot of offense. So the great equalizer was, all right, well, I'm going to ride you or get you really tired. So when you do take a shot, it's going to be bad and I can down block, take an easy go behind, probably right to another mat return.
Yes.
So I knew
and those go behinds are what won you national titles, right?
Yeah.
And those go behinds don't happen without those mat returns. And being able, and by the way, I think in the one of the matches, like I think it was the Montel Marion, you had 59 seconds of riding time. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was.
And I saw you, I remember watching it, like I watched it this morning again just to make sure. You did, on the last mat return, you did get out to your Blair ride. And I was like, oh, well, he definitely gets riding time now, but you didn't. Talk to me about how often, because I know Buxton was huge on not just mat return, but mat return, jump to that wrist, come all the way out to the side.
Yeah, I mean, that was a huge part of my success in college, was being able to get to the wrist. And that was something that we just drilled pretty much every day in high school. Was every time you mat returned, you're either getting a back ankle hook or jumping up to the wrist, running it out, getting him flat right away. not just being happy with just a mat return. And most of the time when I got the wrist, I was able to ride. Montel was really good. We'd wrestled each other a ton. So he knew, that I was going to go straight for that wrist, and he was able to kind of squeak out of there. But it was definitely something every time I mat return, every takedown, you're looking for that wrist.
One of my favorite Kellen Russell stories was
Hey, don't go anywhere. It's Mike. We'll get back to the podcast in just a second. We got to pay the bills though. Do you have an athlete that's looking to break into the social media space? We at athletorlive.com have a brand new in-depth tutorial done by none other than Caden Henshaw. If you don't know who Caden is, he's not even a Division I wrestler, yet he's got hundreds of thousands of engaged followers. Learn how to create engaging content, grow your followers, and open up new opportunities in the NIL space. Go to athletorlive.com/Caden and we'll give you the first module completely free.
Sal Pafacci was one of my kids, and we sent him to the University of Michigan while you were still coaching there. And all he would text me, I'm like, hey, how's it going out there? Are you enjoying class is going well? He would just text me, Kellen Russell's wrist ride. Fuck, I want nothing to do with it. He's like, he rode me for half an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, it was my great equalizer, especially when I was coaching. If I needed to catch a breath, if I could get that wrist, and I knew I was going to have a couple minutes where I could catch my breath and get my legs back underneath me. So it's a lifesaver now when I'm starting to get older, is being able to get the wrist and kind of take a second to chill out.
You say getting older, I say seasoned,
Yeah.
well seasoned. You don't have quite as much gray in the beard as I do. But how is that? Because I know you're still a hands-on type of coach. How has that kind of morphed as you're getting a little bit up there in age?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely try to utilize, especially when I became the associate head coach this last year, I started running a lot of the workouts in the room. So I'm not wrestling every day as much with the guys. So kind of being able to use what I've learned from being more of a hands-on, and be able to kind of walk the guys through those steps. Obviously I still like to jump out there, even just for my mental sanity. I need to wrestle once in a while. What it's like, you don't wrestle for a few weeks and then all of a sudden you're coming home and the wife's like, why are you in a bad mood? You're like, oh, I haven't wrestled in a while. I need to wrestle,
Yeah.
But
She'll
yeah,
make me turn around and go right to the sauna. She's like,
yeah,
get in the sauna. Get in the sauna.
yeah,
Let's
that
go.
look in your eye, go get a workout in. So yeah, it's definitely morphed over the last few years, especially since I've been up here, just kind of not necessarily being just a practice dummy, but having to motivate the guys in the room and get them to get that little bit extra out there. So it's been really fun the last few years. Mike's a great teacher and leader, and I had great guys at Michigan too. So I have all those lessons as well. But yeah, definitely not wrestling as much as I used to. But I went in and wrestled Vito on Friday. Our numbers were a little low, so that was the first time me and him had wrestled in a while. So that was fun.
And he's about as close to 100% as you can get.
Yeah. I mean, this is honestly the healthiest he's been in probably 2 or 3 years. Between the last few years in college being banged up, and then last year he had his hand. They had to get operated on after World. So kind of finally the last month and a half, 2 months, really like month and a half, we've been able to train really hard. And he's held up really well and he's looking really good. Him and Yanni were rolling around this morning. So he's as close to 100% as you can be before a big competition.
So with that said, I'm going to give you some not so good news. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It has happened that the person that pushes the wrestle off, okay, so meaning it has happened 6 times in the last 30 years, okay, that someone has pushed a wrestle off, okay. 5 of them were due to injury. 2003, Daniel Cormier's daughter passed away, so he pushed because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the 5, 4 of the people that have pushed the wrestle off have lost. But here's the glimmer of hope. The one person that has pushed the wrestle off and won was a Cornell guy by the name of Kyle Dake. So are Ivy League guys smart enough to know when they're
Know when to
not
push and when to
100%?
go. Yeah,
You
I mean, I
know?
think obviously we would have liked to be able to wrestle in Final X. Especially with Yanni being there. Obviously, that was that was tough, but being able to have both those guys wrestle is always fun. They're best friends, so when they get to compete together, they love it. And it just, it came down to, with me and Vito were talking a lot, and we were trying to ramp up the training, and he just kept getting dinged up, and nothing was really 100% healthy. So we decided, you know what, let's just push it off. Let's get as close to 100%. I think he was getting a little frustrated just because really it had been 2 years since he was healthy. And he was itching to wrestle. And I kind of, me and Mike sat him down. We're like, hey, listen, we know you want to wrestle. But you're not,
Can I pause the story there? When was that? Because the deadline to push is usually about 2 weeks before Final X. Is that about right?
You have up until 48 hours before the weigh-ins
Oh, okay.
to push it back. So we had decided probably we were going back and forth, and a couple weeks before we were really set on it. We wanted to give him enough time to kind of get comfortable with it. And at the end of the day, it's, his decision. He's the one who has to go out there and wrestle. We gave him all of our advice that we could give him. And yeah, about the week before he came up, he's like, yeah, let's push it. Let's give it another couple weeks and we can really push hard through it, and get as close to 100% as we can.
Yeah. And so let me ask you this, right? Yanni was put in the undesirable position of having lost to, we're going to use the word high school kid, but here's the thing, right? Like, that really doesn't mean the same thing that it did when we were kids or you were a kid, right? These high school kids, pro athletes right now.
Yeah.
Like
they're good. They're training in
grown
college rooms. They're training with college guys. They're training with senior level guys. They're going out to OTC to camps. I mean, PJ's really good. Jax is really,
he's really, really good.
Really good. These guys
Jackson's really, really good.
They're ready to go right off the rip out of high school.
No doubt. But something tells me that Yanni comes back, because I know Yanni and Vito are best of friends, and goes, look, I lost to a high school kid. You don't want to lose to a high school kid.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely are like, what are the chances that we both are wrestling high school kids in Final X? But Yanni's been great. He was obviously super disappointed, but he was the first one in here being like, all right, what does Vito need? I'm here for him, whatever he needs. He was back helping coach, some of the gray shirt guys, some of the college guys, that week that we got back. So, he'll definitely be back stronger, I think. I think he lost a little bit. He got a little frustrated out there and kind of let it get the better of him.
Yeah, you could tell. And having a volume shooter like that decides midway through match two, like, or three-quarters of the way through match two, like, hey, maybe we shut it down because you're up by a couple. That's not always the best case for him. What was the conversation like after match two with Yanni?
He's very analytical of his own wrestling. So, as soon as we got off the mat, he was talking to us about what he thought he did. He's like, I did too much. I was over pursuing. I was over attacking. Kind of just, reiterating what we kind of thought. But, it's tough to really, really change the way you wrestle, right? Like, you don't want to be changing the way you wrestle every match. So, our game plan going into match 3 was like, all right, like, you don't need to take 100 shots. Let's pick when we go. You're going to be able to, you're going to have to stay in the hand fight, right? You can't panic shoot when guys start hand fighting you. Stay in there, take it as it comes. And then, unfortunately, I thought he was wrestling more conservative the third match. Not shooting as much as he was in the second one. And then, he kind of got caught on his heels there. And unfortunately, if PJ catches you in that position, it's tough to get out of.
He's going to end the match. Yeah, he's really good from that position. Having the experience that you do as I don't want to say defensive wrestler, but just a strong hand fight wrestler. Can you lend like some, like, look, okay, go ahead, Yanni, take 17 shots. I'm going to go behind you 15 times.
Yeah.
How much of that do you kind of hands-on with a guy like Yanni?
I used to do it a lot when I first got here. We were wrestling quite a bit. The last year or two, I just haven't been wrestling as much. I had a few injuries, so I wasn't able to get on the mat as much. So I didn't get to be as hands-on with him and Vito as I was in the years past. But it was definitely something we worked on a lot, especially that first year I was here. Wrestling a couple times a week. Just make, because again, like you said, the matchup, right? He's going to shoot 100 times. He was kind of joking about it on that 141-pound quarter century. He's like, I'm going to shoot 20 times. And kind of the question is, how many times can I get my hands locked? And how many times are you going to go behind me? So it's definitely something that we work on. And we have a lot of guys in the room right now that can push him there, which is good. But yeah, I mean, Yanni's definitely, I think, gotten better there where he's able to stay in the hand fight, especially towards the tail end of his college career and these last few years. That's been something we've really, really picked up in his training, just being able to stay in the hand fight. And, even in wrestling, those foreigners being able to, clear that hook and not just shoot off of it every time. Sometimes you just got to clear a tie, get your hands back on them and set your own shot up.
Yeah, it's funny because you said the words panic shoot, and that resonates with me quite a bit. I think it's really hard to tell a kid, because you're talking about a kid like Yanni who grew up, for the most part, being able to take any shot and score on it, right? Like he has a tremendous bag of tricks, right? And he can score with a head outside, head inside, low ankle attack, up, like he can score with a bunch. Trying to tell a kid not to shoot from those ties and just clear out of the ties, that's really difficult, man. It's harder. It's harder than most people think to change that type of mindset.
Yeah, I think it's kind of ingrained to you when you start, we work a lot with our college guys now because we see it. Our guys like to shoot. Like they want to be touch and go, light ties and shoot, right? Which is great. They're generating a lot of offense, but you're going to run into someone who's going to try to push you to the edge and hand fight you into the ground, and you got to be able to stay in there. And you got to be able to clear the tie to get your hand set again. You can't just try to shoot out of every tie. And it's definitely, I use that phrase a lot as a panic shot, especially when our younger guys, go up against a season, fourth, fifth, 6-year senior or something like that. And that guy's going to, try to bully you for the first 3 minutes of the match. You got to be able to stay in there and you can't run away from the ties.
Right.
And so it's definitely something that we work on. And I think as a program, we're getting a lot better there and being able to stay in the fight there. But yeah, it's hard to kind of change your stripes, right? If you're a kid who's used to taking 20 shots a match and scoring 10 or 15 times, you're probably going to keep doing it. And you don't want to pull the reins back too much on them. You want them to still wrestle where they're really confident, but you got to be able to have kind of game plans.
But just freshmen in general,
Yep.
As they walk into the room saying like, hey, look, I know you're used to wrestling from space. I know that's not what's going to get it done at NCAA level. Is that a sit down with each kid individually, or you address the group with that?
It's both. We address the whole group. We spend pretty much most of the preseason just working on the hand fighting skills. We spent a ton of time this summer with our RTC workouts working on that hand fighting, because that's going to translate both to freestyle and folk style. Like if you can get a guy's hands to the mat in freestyle, you're gonna be able to get his hands to the mat in folk style, right? And it's definitely something that we work on as a team. And then individually too, we spend a lot of time in it. We do a lot of individual work. So, there's certain guys that are going to be like me. They're going to want collar tie and inside tie, or collar tie and elbow. Other guys going to want just, traditional inside tie. So we don't try to kind of pigeonhole the hand fight, but we're like, all right, you got to figure out where you're going to be able to sustain this hand fight. And whether that's, clearing ties, getting back inside, whether that's off elbow ties, whether that's off collar tie, turning his ears, but kind of trying to develop your own system. And that's something we do, I think, really well here. Is each guy up and down our lineup pretty much wrestles very differently. We have a lot of guys.
I agree.
Yeah, that like to shoot, right? So we spend, a lot of the mornings doing individual workouts, so that when we come back in the afternoon, we can do more. It's pretty much kind of like strictly training. I say, like, we're going to come in here, we're going to drill hard, wrestle hard, but showing one technique for 40 guys on our roster, maybe 15 or 20 of them are never going to do it. There's never really going to be in that position. They need to be able to wrestle through that position, but we don't want to waste a half hour going over one tie for one kid.
That
So
makes
a lot
sense.
of guys, yeah, especially their first 2 years, we're going to spend a lot of time in developing what's your offensive system. What's your first attack going to be? How's this guy going to react? What's your second follow-up attack going to be? And same defensively. Like we got guys that are strictly baseline D. We got guys that want to go baseline to funk. We got guys who are just funk. So we want to kind of strengthen where your strengths are and try to shore up your weaknesses. But you're probably coming into this program really good in certain areas. So we're going to keep trying to kind of elevate that position for you.
Sure. Hey, let me ask you this. What's the biggest difference that you've seen going from coaching at Michigan to coaching at Cornell? Both very high level programs, high academic standards. But what's the biggest difference that you see?
The biggest difference, wrestling caliber wise, I feel like, we've been kind of going back and forth these last few years, both pretty much in the top 10, top 5 each year. The biggest difference, I think Cornell is just a little bit smaller of a school. Wrestling's pretty high up on their list of sports. We kind of have hockey, lacrosse, and wrestling are the 3 big, popular sports in the area, which is cool. And the biggest thing I think for here is a lot of it's in-house. We do a lot. We don't have as big of an athletic department. So a lot of the things we have to do, we're kind of handling on our own. We have a lot of our own recovery tools here. We bring in a lot of our own people to come in. My wife's a physical therapist. She comes in and works with our guys. So keeping everything. We always joke that it's family, not factory, which is it's kind of true when you come here. We got my daughter will be here in a little bit. She'll be running around during practice. Mike's kids are here. We like to keep it really, really close knit. Kind of family like atmosphere, which I think's helped us succeed. We're kind of the small school that achieves big things, I think. Coming from the smaller Ivy League, but being up there with the guys in the Big Ten and Big 12 and kind of carrying that chip on our shoulder. I think the Cornell guys have a little bit, a big chip on our shoulder coming from the Ivy League, and being able to, have that history of success too.
Yeah, and it started with Cole there, and Mike has done an incredible job of continuing. Now you have the associate head coach moniker on your wall now.
Yep.
It's tough, man. Being a head coach at a Division I wrestling program is extremely hard. Is this the same thing that you signed up for when you started coaching?
Yeah, I think so. I think I took, I knew eventually I'd want to be at a place like this in a position like this. It was one of the big reasons why I made the move from Michigan to here. From New Jersey originally, but I thought by coming to Cornell, I talked to Mike, there'd be, more room for growth in that. I knew Donnie Vincent was coming in as associate head coach. He had told me, his goal was to be a head coach in, 4 to 5 years. So there would be position to move up there. I think it is, especially with everything going on now, being a head coach is a lot more than just coaching wrestling. That's about, at the end of the day, a lot of these head coaches are spending most of the time fundraising, recruiting, talking to administrators, and then their free time, their kind of de-stress time is when they get to go in the wrestling room and actually coach wrestling, which is great.
Yeah, that's the fun part.
Yeah. So, Mike's done a great job of kind of giving me more and more responsibilities as I've been here. And I've been able to, I think, help him a little bit by taking some of those other responsibilities off his plate so he can, be in the room more often. He does a great job of being in the room, every day, all day if he could. But there's a lot of hoops he's got to jump through. There's a lot of people he's got to stay in contact with.
Yeah, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but the Michigan wrestling donor base is significantly bigger. Just again, you're talking about bigger size of a school, bigger whatever. But then the Cornell one, how quickly do you have to learn, like, okay, I need to know this guy, I need to know that guy? Like, is that like day one stuff?
Yeah, I mean, Cole did an unbelievable job and Mike's doing an unbelievable job keeping it up, but they have a culture of just giving back. I think Cole really instilled that. We have a phone-a-thon every year, and our seniors have to sign up and donate whatever their graduating class is. So this year they'll donate, $20 and 26 cents. But that puts you into that pool, and then every year they're getting calls. So there's obviously a lot of, there's a few handful of like big money guys that are donating, and then but just overall I don't know what the percentage is of alumni that give back, but it's incredibly high. and they're incredibly invested. Like when we do this phone-a-thon, you might be on the phone for 45 minutes with a guy who graduated in, 1970, because they know every wrestler that's in the lineup. They know, all the other Ivy League teams, they're like, oh, how's this matchup going to be? So the alumni and donors are super involved, and they swing by the office all the time, come in, want to talk wrestling. So that's been really cool where, I think at Michigan, they've got great donors. And I got to meet a lot of them, spend a lot of time with them, which was awesome. Here, I think, I've definitely stepped up my role in that part, trying to talk to them. And, it's been really fun, but it's definitely a whole nother aspect that you don't necessarily think about when you get into coaching is calling guys just to kind of let them know what's going on with the program.
Sure. Yeah. So the way it was explained to me, and again, forgive my ignorance and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's kind of like three different buckets in
Mhm.
fundraising that you have to fill, right? You got your big money donors in one bucket, and generally the head coach is the one that cultivates that relationship. And then there's the other end of the spectrum, the guys that are given 20, 50, $100 subscriptions a month, that type of thing. And then the mid-range type of donor, that one's the most interesting to me because I think, again, forgive my ignorance, but I think that bucket can get filled the fastest, but sometimes it's hard to kind of gauge, well, who's a mid-range donor and who's maybe a lower tier donor and who's the big wigs and whatever. How do you go about filling that middle bucket, right? Because like everyone, like I know at certain schools that we've talked to the coaches, they do the phone-a-thon and then they'll do like subscriptions to a newsletter or whatever, which costs $100 a month, or you get access to whatever for $100 a month. But how do you find that middle group of guys that can afford to give $5,000 to $7,000, but they're not they're not
Not doing
building a treatment center?
Yeah. Yeah, I think especially for the middle group, like I kind of see it as the subscription one, that's a lot of our younger donors that are just starting out work and they want to stay connected to the program, they want to give back, right? And they kind of float in that area for a few years until they start really working and making money. I think the big thing for especially for kind of the middle, like that 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 grand, is giving those guys like a not a purpose, but like a specific thing. So we will talk to those guys, especially if they're given, maybe anywhere from 3 to 5 grand a year, and maybe we have something that costs 10 grand. Those are the guys that you can call up and be like, hey, like we're really interested in getting this new treadmill, or we're really interested in taking this trip, but we need 10 grand. Would you be interested in being the guy that funds that? And I think that does a good job of kind of tying them into a specific thing in the program. And it also helps up their donations.
Sure.
And we do a lot of that for our trips where we know, a guy might have been given a couple grand. And they get super excited. And those are the guys that'll call you back next year and be like, hey, what do you guys need? Like that was super fun. And maybe they come on the trip with you too. That's something that a lot of coaches do for guys. But I think, yeah, you're right. Like the big money guys are great to have, but I also think that middle bucket is maybe one of the most underutilized. Because a lot of people are happy to give money, especially if they know it's specifically going to one thing. So they can come back
Sure. You can
consistently.
put my name on that treadmill. You can put,
Yeah,
and I know Yanni is going to be cutting weight on that treadmill. Does it get, and we dig into the fundraising because it's become such a big part of the
yeah,
sport. So you have to understand, like it's so important. And like we try to take this, we try to take this information and package it so that we can help, high school like because you have to fundraise at high school level now. You
yeah,
100% do, right?
absolutely.
If you want to be successful. So I think a lot of times these high school coaches and low level college coaches have a problem with the ask, right?
Yeah.
So in your and again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like what you're saying is give them something, give the donor something that they can put their name on and then ask. Is that something you'd say is about right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think giving them a specific target of, we need, a hyperbaric chamber, we need, a new ice cream, we need to, get a van for the RTC. Give them something specific, and even if maybe they can't give that money right now, they might have a buddy who they might be able to go 50-50 with, and be like, all right, we're gonna, let's donate now. And now you got the alumni kind of challenging each other, like, hey, I'm gonna put 5 grand in. Why don't you put 5 grand in? Um, and I think, I was, hesitant to start asking for money, when I first
Sure.
started coaching, because it's just awkward, right? Like
Yeah.
you're calling someone on the phone saying it, and the best piece of advice I got was just like, what's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to say no. And I'm like, you know what? That's right. I'm like they're not going to hate you. They're not going to be upset with you. Like you make the ask, they either say yes, they say no, or they counter offer you something like that. And at the end of the day, it's all right. You just go and move on to the next task. But yeah, pinning something down specifically for them that they can kind of show off to their friends and family that, hey, my money bought this for the program and look how well it's doing. It just ties into all that buyback into the program.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and you said something else, and I remember distinctly something that Rob Cole said. You can't be afraid of the ask. I'll never be afraid to ask for something for my kids. I'll
Yeah.
never be afraid to ask for something for my program. Now, if it's for me, yeah, I feel bashful and I feel a little, whatever. But if it's for my program, and I think that that's a really strong message to coaches. Like, you're not asking for yourself. You're asking for a treadmill for these kids to compete on, or to run on, to get down the weight or whatever. How, and I know that Cole still has a footprint in that area. How much of that stuff do you guys kind of think about? Like, I know Mike has learned just about every trick that Rob Cole has. So how much of that stuff comes up even now on a day to day?
Yeah. Oh, like stuff that Cole did.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, he kind of put Cornell wrestling on the map. So we have a lot to be thankful for from him. I mean, this building being one of them that I'm sitting in right now, and also just the culture that he built. That you guys give back, and I think it's also like as a coach, if it's your first time asking for something, it's a lot easier to ask when you know what you're asking for, not just, hey, we want to throw this money into a pot and then we're going to figure out later what it's going to be used for, right? Especially when you're
sure.
dealing with, at Cornell, we got a lot of successful business guys, business owners, like they want to know what their money's going to. And tying it to a specific thing's been awesome and been helpful. And those are the guys that always come back in. They're like, all right, what do you need? Last year I gave money for this. What are we getting next year? Or they're following other programs and they're like, hey, I saw so and so has this. Like, would you guys be interested in getting that? Like they'll do the research for us half the time and be like, I think this would be really
Really?
helpful for the team. And we're like, sure, man, if you want to, we'd definitely be
Yeah,
interested in taking whatever it is, taking that piece of equipment. But yeah, getting back to Cole, I
sure.
mean, he was just unbelievable at fundraising here and bringing the right guys in. Even the coaches that kind of came through that were underneath him, you can see how successful they are at other places too. So yeah, Cole gets brought up a lot here. He still swings by every once in a while into the building when he's in town. So yeah, it's great.
He calls it his building, by the way.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, he was in a couple weeks ago. Um, so
How's
yeah,
my
it's
building doing?
yeah. Got them burn it down yet, right? Right now we're still good.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. You mentioned the coaching tree that has kind of spawned from Cornell. Did that have any impact on you making the move from Michigan?
Yeah, I think so. A big thing. I'm from Jersey originally. My family still all lives here. My wife's from Jersey, so I thought getting closer to home. Me and Mike grew up wrestling with each other. He had called me a few times when he was an assistant coach here, trying to get me to come in as like a volunteer coach and second assistant and stuff like that. So Cornell had always been something that interested me because you see obviously the team's success, but then you see all these guys that are going on to get head coaching jobs. And it's also just a very different environment than when I was at Michigan, which I thought, if one day I'm a head coach, I want to get different experiences at different places. And being from, a Power Four at Michigan, I kind of understood how that world worked. Now I'm in the Ivy League where it's a smaller administration. You're kind of on your own a little bit more with getting stuff done. And so, yeah, that was kind of another thing, just kind of broadened my horizons a little bit in the coaching tree. Being, it's not a small resource school. We have a ton of resources, but it's
Sure.
a smaller athletic department in general.
Sure. Compared to a Michigan,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd say so. Um, you know, what are you making of this House settlement that has just kind of passed? I don't know how much has changed other than it sounds like there'll be some type of guardrails on the NIL money that is given to some of these athletes. Can you shed any light on that at all right now?
I mean, we don't have to deal with it too much here. When it comes to NIL, it seems like it's tough. I talked to our administrators a lot about the guy who oversees wrestling is one of our compliance, is the head of compliance. So I've kind of picked his brain a little bit about it. And the biggest thing it seems like is no one really knows what's going to happen, which is kind of the most frustrating part because you have people hearing a million different things. And I'm like, well, that's not what I heard from our people. And they're like, oh, well, so-and-so said their compliance office said that. I like the idea of putting some guardrails on it. I don't know how well they're going to be able to execute it because I feel like at the end of the day, someone's going to sue and it's going to be another, lawsuit and another whole trial. And then there's going to be a new set of rules coming out. I like the idea of kids being able to kind of make, at least a living or make something while they're wrestling in college. But how crazy it kind of reminds you of when RTCs first started, where in the beginning the salaries were fairly manageable for coaches, and then a few years in, it seemed like some of the salaries that they were paying some RTC athletes were kind of through the roof for what it was.
Sure.
And it seemed like that kind of balanced out a little bit. So I'm thinking maybe, a few more years down the road, maybe the NIL will balance back out. But yeah, with the class action lawsuit, I don't know. There's so many different opinions out there that are floating around, and every time I talk to our compliance guy, I get a different answer for it.
Yeah, that's again, that I can see that would be frustrating, right? I mean, you hear about these exorbitant numbers being thrown out for high school kids that have never stepped on a college mat. And my initial gut reaction is like, well, that's just not sustainable. That's not sustainable at all. But yet you guys are still right there with the top, and you're not paying the kids as much as I is, right? We know that, right? How are you able to stay competitive in this landscape, especially with the fact that you can't give away athletic scholarships, and the fact that you can't, there's a lot of different things that, from an outsider looking in, they kind of look like they're shackling you a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, especially when all these rules started changing, I thought we might be at a little bit of a disadvantage. But I think it also gives us an advantage. Our NIL pitch is like, you're going to go to Cornell, you're going to leave with an Ivy League degree. We're going to get you a really good internship. You're going to get a really good job. And now, if you start coaching, then great. But if you're going to work in the real world, you're going to end up with a really good salary for 40 years. You're going to end up in a good job, whether that's finance, medical, whatever you want. We're going to be able to connect you with the right people. And then on the wrestling side of it, we're going to invest a lot into your development, right? Because we're not going to pay, guys big money to transfer in for a few years just because, it's really hard to transfer into an Ivy League. So we're not even going down that pathway. Like if we're recruiting you to Cornell, we're going to invest in you, and we're going to see how good you can get while you're here. And that's been kind of our pitch, and staying that close grip or close group, where everyone's kind of trying to push each other to see who can come out the best. That's kind of been our big push these last few years, and I think it's been super successful. And I think people really enjoy that that part of it where they know, once you tell us you're coming to Cornell, you're part of the Cornell family for life. We've had a few guys that have graduated and went and, they can't wrestle here as graduates, so they'll go and wrestle a fifth year somewhere.
Yeah, that's different though. Like we know Cardenas. I mean, that's just a different animal. You can't wrestle your fifth year here. So yeah, that's different. But it seems like there is a pocket of mid-major schools, and ironically, Schwab literally just texted me. They're doing an incredible job at UNI.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, pretty with meager kind of accommodations compared to Cornell. But it looks like what you guys are selling are the exact same. The long term, the future, don't take the bag now. Listen, just trust me. Because they're doing a lot of that same stuff in that, like, okay, not only are we going to utilize our alumni association to get you whatever job you want when you graduate from this school, but we're going to invest X amount of dollars in a Roth IRA or whatever that matures over time. And now all of a sudden, these kids are going, oh, wait a second. I don't really need $100,000 right now. I probably could use it when I start my life,
Yeah.
like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's, being creative and being resourceful is going to be huge for the schools that don't have, the multi-million-dollar NIL funds. And being able to find whatever your school is really good at or whatever your advantage is going to be, really putting that on display. And for Cornell, that's going to be getting an Ivy League education and getting you in front of these really successful people that can help you, whichever way you want to go after you graduate, whether that's wrestle for a few years and then go into the working world or go right into it. And a big thing is just the guys on our team and our alumni selling the program. I think that's huge for us. I think we've gotten a lot of guys, from Jersey and California now, because kind of once you get one or two of those guys, they start talking to everybody else, and everyone's like, you know what, maybe, yeah, I don't need the $100,000 right now, but if I go there, I know that, I'm going to be able to see how good I can get, and I'll be set up after.
Yeah, the development part is really, really, really big as well, and the investment in the athlete. I think we're going to see, I think sooner rather than later, that pay off in dividends. Because in the world of NIL and transfer portal and what have you, if I'm an athlete coming into college, I'm looking at history of the weight. And if there's a different person at that weight class every single year, maybe I don't really look at that. I mean, let's call it what it is, right? I mean, history of the weight is something that's probably not talked about enough when it comes to recruiting. I don't know that there's been a better lightweight wrestling program than Cornell in the last 30 years.
Yeah.
From Nathan to Vito to whatever.
Yeah, they've always been super successful, at the lower weights, kind of all through. I think heavyweight's the only weight that we haven't had an All-American. So we're pushing hard for that for the next few years. We've had 10 guys qualified the last 2 years. So we've qualified every weight the last 2 years, which has been really cool. That hadn't been done before at Cornell. And I think that just shows the development that we put into these guys and kind of recruiting the right kid. Because, there are going to be certain kids that they want to make the $100,000, they want to make the $200,000 a year to go and wrestle. And unfortunately, we're just not going to be able to recruit those kids really. And
you are, yeah, you are, because you did. Knox was
that's
without blowing up his spot. Okay, like he was offered quite a bit of money to go other places, and not only did you get him. The kid is all in. He's all in for Cornell.
He's all in.
So yeah, sure. I mean you can, you can recruit those guys, and maybe it's a. I should digress by saying that it wasn't all about the money for that kid. Like he really, really loves folk style wrestling. He really wants to win NCAA titles, and he's going for a junior world title this year. So Talk to me about the kid that you do recruit, though. Talk to me about the kid. Like, what boxes? Obviously, he's got to be good at wrestling, but that's that's obvious, right? But talk to me about what other boxes this kid needs to fill before you even call him.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is academics, right? I think, a lot of these kids are super smart now, which is great. We have a big pool that we can recruit from. But having an interest in academics, our guys do a great job of I wouldn't say self-policing, but of making sure they're doing well academically. We don't really have academic problems, which is great. And all of our guys, they know if they're successful in the classroom, it's going to help succeed on the mat as well. So that's a big thing we talk to is what are you interested in academically? What do you see yourself doing? We like to get, we want some well-rounded kids that, one of the first questions I always ask is like, what do you do outside of school and wrestling? Like, obviously those are gonna be the two biggest parts of who you are, because that's why you probably got in this position. But what else do you like to do outside of that? And I
And
think
what would be a red flag there? What would be like a red flag there?
I don't know if I've really heard any red flags. I like when they say they like to golf. We golf a lot up here as a team. That's a big hobby for everyone on the team. So most of the guys, even if they're not golfers, when they get here, by the time they leave, they're golfing. They might not be good, but they'll go out. So a lot of those gap year guys and have been golfing all summer up here, which has been fun. Um, Red flags, though,
Who's the best golfer in the Friedman Center?
probably me.
Really?
I'm up there.
Is Gray good or no?
He is, but he's got 4 kids and he's the head coach. He doesn't get out as often as, well, when he does get out, he's usually pretty good. But no, I'd say I'm up there. I'm probably at least top 5 depending on the day. No one's super consistent, so there might be some gap year guys that I've heard that are pretty good, but I haven't played with them yet, so I'm not counting them on the roster yet.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, Joel Shaw, we're gonna bring this thing home here. Kellen Russell, don't think about these questions. Just fire off answers as best you can. What's the best wrestling shoe of all time?
Oh, best for Rulon.
Ooh, what color? Colorway?
I think I had the black and gold ones. Black and yellow.
You did.
They got stolen in Ukraine when I was there overseas. I was devastated. It was a fresh pair too. So I think like Josh Trella had them or something. It was like, I'm not going to wear these anymore. I'm like, sweet. Brought them overseas, got stolen like 2 days in. I was not happy.
Daggone it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All this stuff that we talked about, whether it be the finance stuff or just kind of digging into head coaching, is there a book recommendation that you could make to somebody that is starting out in coaching and you can lend a little bit of insight through this book?
Gosh. I don't have a good answer for you right now. Huh. Trying to think of the ones there's one I'm thinking of. I can't. Yeah, I don't got a good one right now.
All right. You get back to us on that one.
Yeah.
All right. You only get 4. They got to be American.
Mm-hmm.
Who is on your Mount Rushmore of wrestling?
Ooh. Got to go John Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Go Jordan Burroughs.
Mm-hmm.
Go Bruce Baumgartner.
Love it. Keeping it Jersey.
And just because he's gonna be super happy, I'm going Ricky Delgado because I just enjoy his stories. I can't beat him.
It's a pretty Jersey Mount Rushmore. I like it.
Ricky will be happy if he hears that.
Dude, first of all, first time Ricky Delgado is on the list. Second of all, I don't think that many people know how good he was. He was really good, number one, but he was in that whole Leroy Smith debacle in 1980 and had wins over both he and Lewis. And it was that nightmare of a threesome that was going to win a gold medal. I mean, in 1980, because Russians weren't there. Yeah, man, he's an outstanding pick. I love that one. All right.
I'll
Last
probably put
one.
Kale up there too, but I got to go Ricky D. He's my boy.
Oh yeah, for sure. Keep it Jersey. Love it. Okay. All right. Last one. You got a magic wand. You can change one thing about the sport of wrestling and it changes immediately. What is it?
What is it? One thing and it changes immediately. I think I'd go 11 weight classes for college.
Love it. Love it. Do you know what the fifth criteria is in case of a dual meet tie? Because I don't. And I'm no, neither do I. But it's gone down to the fifth criteria.
Yeah.
Doesn't it make all the sense in the world to just go, whoever won the most matches? Well, there's 10. No. There's 11 weight classes. Like, it's just, even if you make one up on the fly, like.
And I think like having like a 220, like a light heavyweight, essentially, like it'd be great for the guys who are 215 pounders that are kind of those tweener guys that maybe it's too much to cut to go 97. They're too small for heavyweight. We have a ton of guys like that wrestle that are in that weight area, you know? And I think it'd be cool to be able to kind of, you know, pitch it almost like boxing or MMA where you got, you know, the heavyweight champ and you got the light heavyweight champ. It'll be
sure.
So I think that's
I agree 100%. We have a kid that just graduated this past year, a kid named Angelo Posada, who wrestled 215 for us. And I just don't think he'd be super effective at 97, but he's skinny. It's tough, man. Like he's kind of without a home. Don't get me wrong. He'll be a 97, but truth be told, man, if there's a 215-pound weight class, 220-pound weight class, that's perfect for that kid. I mean, he's 6'4". You know,
I think it'd be an exciting weight class because you're going to get those guys that are 6'4" and athletic. Like it'd be a good blend of bodies and athleticism, I think, which would be 100%. Super exciting for the fans too to watch.
I agree 100%. That seems like such an easy fix too. It solves so many problems. It solves so many problems. It would
make it better for viewers, like a casual viewer. You don't have to remember who scored more points. Like it's like whoever won the most dual matches.
That's it. Yeah. Simple enough. Yeah, we shoot ourselves in the foot with complexity all the time. But that's a story for another time. Kellen Russell, thank you so much for coming on and spending some time with us, brother.
Thank you so much.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon. Wait. Don't go anywhere before you hit that next button. If you enjoyed listening to this episode, do us a huge favor. Click that subscribe button. And if you're so inclined, leave a review and share it.